This is the 3-step guide to consistently improve your chess, whether you are a total beginner, an intermediate player, or even a master. Tricks eventually stop working. Opening traps get refuted. The only way to improve your chess is to focus on those 3 core habits that make you a better player, and I will show you exactly how to do it. Step number 1, and you need to listen to this very carefully, especially if your puzzle rating is way higher than your actual rating. This is a very common scenario, and it means that you are making some mistakes when solving puzzles. I will show you first the basic technique to do it the right way, but then also why this is not enough, why you're still struggling in real games. The basic framework to solve puzzles is to look for checks, captures, and attacks. Why? Because those moves are forced. They force the opponent to take a clear step if they don't want to get mated or lose material. Now, in this position, if we start looking for checks, we see there's 2 checks with the rook, and definitely this one is very good because the king has no way to escape. This is just mate. The king cannot go here, not there, not here, not there. Puzzle number 2. Now the checks are no longer working because this one and this one, the king can just escape. The queen can't really take because there is a rook hanging. But the queen doesn't have to take, the king can just move away, right? So we need to search for better captures. What if we take first this rook? Now the queen has to take, if not we win a rook and maybe even a queen. So after rook takes, queen takes, now we have a very powerful check. This one or this one? Well, this one is way better because we're attacking the king and the queen at the same time. So this is the solution of this puzzle. Amazing! Is this framework always working? Well, not always, but for now we have this position. Any checks? Not with this rook, not with this bishop, not with this queen, not with this rook. We don't have checks. Captures? Well, we can take this pawn, we can take this pawn, but we don't really want because we just lose massive material. What do we do here? We need to set up a threat. Oh, we can attack this queen with the rook, but the queen is just escaping. So what? Well, the trick here is to find a way to trap this queen. This queen is at the edge of the board. And how can we trap the queen so that this move is winning the queen? Well, b3 is the first move that you might think of. But this bishop is hanging. c4, also a very cool move, but there is en passant, the most beautiful move of chess. So what else? How can we block this diagonal? Ooh, there is a rook here, rook b3. This is the right solution because it doesn't matter what black is playing. We will just play rook here, attack the queen has to be sacrificed, and we won a queen for a rook. This is the basic framework, but doesn't always work. And I will show you some clear examples. For example, here, checks, captures, attack. Here, if you start by solving, you will notice a very juicy tactic. Okay, we take here, is a check, the king has to take back, and now we take a free pawn, giving a check, attacking the knight. The king has to move, and we take also the knight. We won a pawn and the knight, but it's a blunder. Why? Because we are a rook down. That's why you need a preliminary question before solving any single puzzle. And it is, what's the material? Assess the material so you can understand your goal. Here, since we are a rook down, we need to either checkmate or win more than a rook. If not, we are still in a worse position. Okay, so let's try to, now we understood what is our goal, and now we can look for other moves. We already know that capturing this queen doesn't work. Now we have a check here. It would be almost mate, but the queen can cover. Only move. Now, checks, captures, attacks. Taking the queen doesn't seem to bring to anything, but attention, now we can take here. Giving a check, attacking the knight. They can't cover with the queen because the queen is pinned. So after this, check, only move is for the king to move. And then we take the queen and it's mate. So we go, and we go. Perfect. Just if we understand that we can't just win a knight, we need more. Second common mistake. Let's start by assessing the material in this position. Okay, we have a queen, we have a rook. Ooh, they have an extra rook. Their last move has been exactly to capture our rook. Minor pieces, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and they have 1, 2, 3. So we are down a rook for a bishop. We are down 5 points, up 3. We are -2. Let's check the pawns. We have 7 pawns, they have 7 pawns, equal. So it's -2, the material evaluation here. Okay, we can see checks. Well, if we take this knight is a check. If we take this bishop is a check. But here, if we just trade pieces, we will just be -2. Now, the first move that comes to mind is like, okay, cannot we just take this? We are then +1 because we take a piece of value of 3. So -2 + 3 +1. What we traded are 2 minor pieces for a rook. Is this move good? Well, this move is a huge blunder for many reasons. The first one is that this knight is hanging. So if we take here, they take there, and we're still -2. And this is what you always need to ask in puzzles, because you need always in games, what's the threat of my opponent? What's their idea? You don't play alone. Sometimes puzzles give us this illusion that we always have check, 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 mate. Check, 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 win a queen. Check, 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 whatever. No, games are not like this. Your opponent is trying to do the same to you. So you need to always understand what's their idea, what's their threat at every single move. And I challenge you to find the other threat that black has in this position, because there is another huge threat. If I don't see that other threat, the first move that comes to mind is to move this knight away to attack a second target. For example, ooh, knight here. I'm attacking this bishop a second time. And if they defend this bishop, I'm winning this other one. So that's great. And after this, I see like, hey, this rook cannot protect this bishop because I'm gonna take it. This bishop cannot move anywhere. Is this the solution? Oh no, this is not the solution, because there is another threat that black has. And there's a beautiful, typical move. And there's knight take d5. And the idea is that after knight takes, if we take just back with the pawn, we lose another piece. The bishop is taking. And if we say like, okay, let's trade here the bishop, and then we will take the knight. Attention, after knight takes, bishop takes, the knight can take back and save itself. So black has captured 2 pieces, white just 1. So the threat here is that black is threatening to win a piece in 2 ways. Knight takes and pawn takes. So the whole idea of this puzzle, and this is just a 1400 elo puzzle, I will show you. 1400 elo, pass rate 32%. And the solution is so beautiful. We first need to solve threat number 1. And so we trade here the bishop for our knight. Now we are not leaving the knight hanging anymore. Then we have to solve the other knight. And so we go here, attacking the queen. The queen has to move, and then we will take this bishop. All this to have an advantage of +1. But this is one of the most typical scenario of a real chess game. That's what happens in game. Your opponent has a plan, you have to be 1 move ahead of them. Let's move on. Another example, this puzzle has a pass rate of 4.6. And you are not able to solve this puzzle unless you understand the idea. Material. Black is completely screwed. They just promoted. If we take, well, there is one idea, maybe the back rank checkmate. That's why I think many players just play this move, hoping for rook takes, which would be checkmate, but the queen can simply take back and there is nothing. What is the idea? The idea is that if we remove magically from the board this rook and this queen, this is stalemate. The king has no move, no square. Cannot go here, not there, and also not here, not there, because if the rook is not there, the queen is covering the squares. So we need to find a way to sacrifice this rook and this queen with check. Now, if we start by sacrificing the queen, the rook is taking, and then what? If we try to sacrifice the rook, they are not going to take a rook, they will just give mate. So, very important to start with this check, and then sacrifice the queen, the rook is taking, and this is stalemate. One more example. I really love this one. Most of my students, when I show them this puzzle, were struggling with it. They counted the material, and they said like, oh, okay, we are a pawn down. Now they said, okay, what's the threat of our opponent? Oh, they want to take this knight. Okay, now what are our checks, captures, attacks? Check doesn't work, check doesn't work. Okay, we can capture this knight, but then they capture our knight. Attacks. Can we attack this queen? Not really, because they take back. Well, they win a piece. Other threats. I don't know, we can maybe attack this knight, but the knight can simply move away. Other threats. I don't know. And this is a beautiful example of the power of pattern recognition. In chess, you become stronger once you see a basic idea. You solve it so many times, that is, you have an intuition about it, and then you're able to spot it at a higher level. I will show you what is the idea of this puzzle, the basic idea. This is one of my favorite openings and opening traps. So we are in the Italian game, and white is choosing to go for the evens gambit, which is one of the best gambit in chess. Because it's very powerful but doesn't have huge risks. As you can see, even if black plays best, the position is gonna be roughly equal. Now, what's the idea? The idea is that white wants to crush the center by winning a tempo on this bishop that has to move one more time, and winning a tempo on this bishop that has to move again. Now, after taking, white is not taking back immediately because there would be an annoying check. White is castling, and taking this pawn is a mistake because there is a beautiful bishop sacrifice, and then the queen is sneaking here. Beautiful position for white. So in this position, black needs to avoid this trade and develop his pieces. Now, if the knight goes here, this is also not really good for black because the pawn can be pushed on e5, the knight has to move again. White actually can first take here and then play e5, and white has a very nice position. So most players decide to still move the knight out, but to move it to this square. But this is now a problem. There is also here a very nice tactic. White is first taking back here, attacking the bishop. The bishop has to move, and now knight g5. Fried liver idea. We're attacking this pawn with the knight and with the bishop. That point is just defended with the king. Now, the typical defense is the move castle. Because once you do that, let me shortly show you this. This point is protected by the king and the rook. If we take here, we traded two minor pieces, our two minor pieces, for a rook and a pawn. Actually, black has two pawns because we have sacrificed the pawn. This position is not ideal for white. White is actually almost losing. So not good. That would be the typical defense. But this position is almost lost for black. The move castle is a mistake. For a typical, beautiful attacking idea, queen h5. This is a double threat. The queen is at the same time adding an attacker on this pawn and threatening checkmate. And this is brutal. The best defense is to play the move h6, protecting the checkmate. Now, the strongest way to capture this pawn is definitely with knight. We are attacking the queen. And the best defense is sacrificing the rook here. And after queen or bishop takes, white has extra material. What happens if they move the queen here? There is a beautiful checkmate. You give a double check with the knight and with the bishop. The king can move to 1 or 2 squares, but doesn't matter. Wherever they go, you'll go back, give a check with the queen. The king has to move in the only square, and now we slide here, giving checkmate. Beautiful pattern. And this will help you to solve the puzzle. Because after this trade, this is not just a trade, because then we have the possibility to set up the huge threat. Double attack here, double attack there. Very hard to spot without knowing the actual basic pattern. Step number 1, solving puzzles the right way, will improve your pattern recognition. The more position you solve in the same theme, the faster you will be to spot the same idea in actual games. A similar approach is used by Brilliant, the sponsor of today's video. Brilliant is a learning platform where you explore topics like math, science, programming, data analysis, and AI by solving problems and recognizing patterns, not just reading explanations. This month, I've been exploring their Thinking in Code course. And it feels like playing small video games while learning how to think like a programmer and eventually write code that achieves the goal. You can try everything Brilliant has to offer for free for 30 days at brilliant.org/Alessia Santeramo or scan the QR code here on screen. And if you then decide to continue, you will get 20% off an annual premium subscription. If you enjoy learning in a way that is fun and interactive, then you will like Brilliant. And now let's move on with step number 2, play. And many players do it wrong because they pick the wrong time control for their level. Should you play bullet, a blitz, rapid, a mix of all? I will not give you just my opinion, but an answer that is backed by science. A very famous psychologist, Daniel Kahneman, in Thinking Fast and Slow, says that in our brain there are 2 systems. System 1 operates automatically and quickly. It's driven by instincts and intuition. That's what we are using in Blitz and especially in Bullet. You're not really thinking, you're reacting. But System 2 is more thoughtful and analytical. It tackles thoughtful mental activities. And here it's the key. True learning, true improvement requires System 2. So, if you want to actually get better at chess, choose a time control where you can actually think. So play rapid games, at least 10+0. If you can, even longer, it's even better. Step number 3, and before leaving what this is, I want to tell you something about the timing. How much time should you reserve to step number 1? How much time to step number 2? How much should you solve tactics? How much should you play? And my husband, Grandmaster Nuller Studer, has a very beautiful article called the 1/3 rule. Basically what he says is that a very simple system would be to assign 1/3 to tactic, 1/3 to play, and the last third to everything else. Now, if you want it even simpler, you could do the 50-50 rule. For example, 50% tactics and then 50% step number 2 and 3. I think for player under 1500 elo, this is a great system. So, step number 3 is analyze your game. But now I will show you the only 2 questions that you have to check in every single game in order to do a quick analysis and take the most out of it. As an example, today I will become Pedro. Call me Pedro. This is a game I played against Pedro, and this is what I would do if I would be Pedro, how to analyze this game. You can run a game review. It's not even always needed. And the first question is, how did I play the opening? Did I follow the opening principles? And if not, what could I have done better? Okay, let's go here. and focus on the opening. Sicilian defense, everything is good, everything is good. And already now, let's put the evaluation bar. The evaluation bar can help you a lot to understand when there are mistakes, if there is a big change. In the openings, mistakes are more subtle. So the bar is not changing too much. But if the bar is changing of 1 point, for example, then it's something relevant already. So for example, once we take, here the advantage is going almost to +1, is plus 0.9. So that's a lot. We almost are 1 pawn down. So why is this a mistake? This is a mistake because, first of all, we are moving the same piece twice. And what we are doing is like we are letting them bring the queen to the center of the board. Usually the opening principles say like, don't move the queen out too early. But in reality, this is a problem just if the queen can be attacked by opponent pieces. Now there is no longer the knight that can attack the queen. That's why this trade is a mistake. Now white can just develop all the pieces in a simple way, and white is better. Now once you understand your mistake, you have to improve it. One single move. So instead of taking, what move should black play? Development. Knight here is a great move. We're attacking a pawn and we are ready to keep going, developing all the pieces. In the Sicilian, a very typical way is to play the move e6, bishop here, castle, and then this bishop is going to be developed in fianchetto. For example, a6, b5, bishop here. A very typical way. But of course, there are many different lines and different way of developing. Second, very important question. Let's go back to the game review. What is the biggest mistake that made me lose the game? Usually is hanging pieces, simple tactics, all these things that you must cover. What I would do if I would be Pedro, if I missed a fork, immediately after this game, I would go to puzzles and I will solve 10, 20 forks to try to reinforce the blunder I made. It's a very constructive way to learn from our losses. Now, in this game, Pedro was playing a very strong player. So he didn't lose because he blundered, but because he didn't find the right defense. Let's go to this position. So in this position, there is the biggest junk in the evaluation. So the evaluation was still kind of okay, material is still equal in this position, and then +5 suddenly. So let's go back to this form and let's go to the relevant position. Here, material is still equal. If you count the material is equal, you can also see under the names. Equal material. The evaluation bar is going like this because what Pedro didn't do really well is knowing what's his plan. And here, since we castled in opposite side of the board, is necessary to attack very quickly. Instead of going one step forward with this pawn, he should have played this, that, push all the pawns and try to attack the king. That's exactly what I did on this side, and that's why I have an advantage, because my attack is stronger. Now, what Pedro did wrong is that he took this pawn, I can take back, and now my queen is joining. I opened up a file, I'm bringing the queen, the rook. This is the simplest plan to attack the king. Open up files, bring the queen, bring the rook, and that's how I basically checkmated. Now I'm blocking the square for the king to escape. The knight has, well, the rook moved. If the knight is moving, I have checkmate on h8. So here, Pedro moved the rook away, I gave a check, and I gave mate. So critical moment was here. The evaluation made a huge jump. So let's try to understand what is the right defense here. And the best move in this position is simply playing knight h5. It's a typical move to stop the pawn from advancing, keeping the files closed. And now there is a very nice pawn sacrifice. If white is taking, we don't take back because we are opening a file again. So it's another very important learning opportunity. But after pawn takes, we play g6. This pawn is weak, it's gonna be weak for a very long time. We might be able to capture it in the future. For example, king h7, we move the rook, bishop here, and we are taking it. But we have no stress about it. The important thing is to keep the king protected. So definitely g6, very good defense. And here is not so simple for white to convert it to a win. So definitely this is a very good lesson for me, Pedro. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. It helps the channel really a lot with just one click. So why not? And then go check out this other one. I played chess in front of my grandmaster husband and he rated every single of my games. Go check it out. Or check out Brilliant. Link is in the description. Thank you for watching. Ciao, ciao.